Well, good morning. I want to talk to you today about the fact that possibility is not a probability. And I've been watching, as a kind of a brush up on this idea, I've been watching a couple of different people who have some different notions about possibility and probability. One of those being Khan Academy. So if you've never watched Khan Academy, he's a math genius who has been helping middle school and high school students to learn algebra and various forms of math, and he does a great job. If you just type in probability and Khan, K-A-H-N, you'll find some incredible simplified drawings. Now, the idea of possibility versus probability came to me because of listening to Dr. Caroline Leaf. And she talks about how every time we make a choice, we collapse a set of probabilities. And as I heard that, and I've heard it several times in different lectures that she's done, that every time we make a choice, we collapse a set of probabilities. And then she mentioned by just literally in a sentence, she said, we could put all this in a Venn diagram, but let me just simplify it to say. And I thought, I'm thinking back through my math classes, and I don't remember a Venn diagram. I don't know what that is. So it's Venn, V-E-N-N. And I am certain that there are people who watch this video who are more intellectual than I am, who have more experience with math than I do, who have greater education than I do, because that doesn't take much. Your average turtle may have a higher IQ, and your average Facebook user probably has a better education than I do. I graduated high school, that's it. But I want to take my very feeble mind, and I want to pull in some of these ideas and try to lay them together in a way that when you think about possibility is not probability, you understand that that doesn't limit your opportunity, it expands it. Possibility is not probability, and that doesn't limit your opportunity, it expands it. Because we know that the mind can change the brain, and therefore the brain can grow. So one of the little illustrations that Mr. Khan used was, he said, you know, if I have a bag, I'm going to hope all my markers work today. He said, if I have a bag, and in that bag I have 50, and I'm not going to try to count them all, but if I have 50 marbles and they're blue, and I also have 50 marbles and they're a different shade of blue or they're green, then in that bag I have 100 possibilities. And out of those 100 possibilities, meaning there's 100 marbles in the bag, 50 are one color and 50 are another color. So if you have 100 possibilities and you have 50 of either color, then you have a 1 in 2 chance of actually achieving pulling out that marble from that bag. So you have a 50-50 chance in life if half of your opportunities are one thing and half of your opportunities are another thing. Now, we know that everything in life has its limits. So if we were to put this same illustration into a Venn diagram, then basically the area of our Venn diagram is 100. It has 100 overall possibilities. 100 possibilities at having the right job, 100 possibilities at having the right education, 100 possibilities of landing in the right relationship, of living in the right geography. And then we also know that while 100 is representative, it could be 1 million, because the variables that drive us towards success and opportunity could be the generation that we're born in, could be the decade we were born in. You know, if your mind is a math genius mind and you were born in the 60s, rocket science may have been your greatest field of opportunity. Today it's computers. There are young people today who, and it's a joke when we say it, we think, well, that's just being silly. But we say if you've got something along with the lines of an iPhone or an iPad or a laptop or a computer, and you're over the age of 40 like me and you're having trouble with it, just call a teenager. They can figure it out. Now I can tell you for a fact, I have 6 grandchildren. One of them's not even old enough to hold her own pacifier yet, so I don't worry about her with technology just yet. But the youngest above her just turned 2. And if you leave an iPad in the room, he will figure out how to unlock it. And I don't know how he does it. but he will get it open and he will start playing with it. The 3-year-old, the 5-year-old, the 9-year-old, all of them can open your iPad, find the apps, download another app, go on the web. They can do all of those things that my parents still have a hard time with, that my grandparents look at the iPad device and go, it's a phone or it's a computer or what is it? What is it? All right. I say that to say the opportunity, the possibilities in your life may be limited by the generation you were born in. They may be limited by the geography that you were born in. I was talking to a young man not too long ago, and I said, well, you've got the right body type to be a sprinter or to run track. And he said, our school doesn't offer track. Your school doesn't offer track and field. No. So there's no way to compete, to be coached, to be trained, because the school he goes to doesn't offer that field. There are a lot of schools today who offer vocational opportunities. So what that means is that the possibility for the students in that school district have grown. If in the past the possibilities didn't offer cooking classes or mathematics classes for daily living, or the opportunity to be a medical assistant coming out of high school, or the opportunity, I know there are schools right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, for an example, where when you graduate from high school you can already have your beautician's license. Who'd have thunk it, right? They've skipped the whole vocational process of 2 to 3 years after school and finished it while in high school. There are some who are auto mechanics. They finish their ASE certification before they graduate from high school. There are some who go to culinary school while in high school. There are some who are doubling up on their college classes and then taking summer classes. They're graduating from high school with an associate's degree and well on their way to their college degree. All of these are possibilities that we've added to this mix. So maybe we've added another color, and so we've now got blue and green and now black marbles in the bag, and instead of 100 possibilities, we have 150. And now your chances are 2 in 3 or 1 in 3 of grabbing the same color, but you have so many more opportunities. You follow me? Now here's what we also know. If you're looking at this bag of opportunities, this bag of possibilities, there are ways to expand the bag to give you more options. But giving you more options isn't always what you need. What you need is to act on the ones that you have. So let's say, for an example, you looked at this bag of 150 marbles and you got your 50 black and your 50 blue and your 50 green. And you just reach in there and randomly grab a handful of marbles and you say, you know, I'm just going to grab out of this bag and work with what I have, which is what most of us do in life. I didn't like golf when I was in high school. I have no idea if I'd be good at it. I have a really good mind for angles and stuff, so I'm really good on a billiards table. But I wasn't a big fan of golf in high school. In fact, there were only a few guys that I knew that played golf in high school, and we weren't friends, and we didn't really get along very well. Now guys like Lance Wimmus and Van Barry, those guys are, Van I believe still runs the golf course in our hometown. So obviously golf was a big thing for him. Back then I didn't even know he played golf. We played football together, but that was pretty much it. I don't know if I'd be good at golf or not. I played one 9-hole round and I beat the guy that took me to play by, I don't know, it was 7 or 8 strokes on the first 9, and I shot from the tee to the green with a 5-iron. I don't know if that means I'm good or not. Here's what I do know. Golf has never been in the bag of possibilities for me because it wasn't something that was immediately in front of me to make a choice about. You follow me? So when I reached into that bag of marbles and I pulled out the opportunities for my life, golf wasn't one of those marbles. Football was one of those marbles. I ended up playing while I was in the Air Force for a while and had a great time with it. Both of my boys have played football. My youngest son is still in high school. He's got 1 year left and he still plays football. It's been a part of our life, but it's not like we're looking for scholarships or expecting the NFL or anything of that nature. So it's one of the possibilities that's become a probability, but it hasn't been collapsed into the only probability. Now let me stop there for a moment, and I want to simplify this. I really do, and it sounds really complicated, but let's just say, for an example, that one of these marbles is football. And we're talking American football just for simplicity's sake, so we can all be on the same channel. That 1 of 50 is not just football, but it's the NFL. It's playing at the I can't even write. It's playing at the highest level. It's being among the best of the best of the best. Let's even say that one of these is being a Rhodes Scholar. And so it's about academic achievement. It's about opportunity for being a genius, going to MIT or Vanderbilt or being a medical professional or something of that nature. And so when you reach into that bag and you grab the handful of opportunities in your life, the probabilities, the possibilities become probabilities because you've taken a hold of them. Now, if you pull that NFL marble, what that doesn't mean is that by luck of chance, by stroke of genius, by mere opportunity, just because you have that marble in your hand, that you're going to be in the NFL. But because that marble has raised that level of awareness in your mind that you say, you know what, I'd never thought about playing football, but you know, my dad's over 6 foot, my grandpa's over 6 foot, my grandpa on the other side's over 6 foot. There's a chance I could be big enough to play football. Right? And so the football marble is in my life. The possibility is there. And I'm aware. I have knowledge. My reticular activating system knows what football looks like and feels like, and it's something I'm passionate about. Now, in that line of the genes to play football, there may be other options to play rugby or to play baseball as a pro baseball player, or to play basketball as a pro basketball player. I can tell you, if you look at somebody like Shaquille O'Neal, many NFL football players would look at him and go, for lack of skill, we might be able to beat him on the football field, but that's a big, big dude. There aren't many running backs that would like to run into Shaquille O'Neal. He's a good-sized fella, and he's got great athletic skill for as big as he is. He's fast, he's strong, he's agile. If you took somebody the size of Shaquille O'Neal and put him on the football field, he could be a force to be reckoned with. So physical stature may be one of the probabilities, one of those marbles that you pull out of there and go, yeah, there's a great chance. But don't rule that out as the only marble, because maybe one of those little teal marbles is just great discipline and athletic ability. And then you have to look at somebody like a Cole Beasley, who's shorter than I am, a Cole Beasley who weighs less than I do, a Cole Beasley who plays in the NFL and has, at times for the Dallas Cowboys, had the highest yards receiving and the highest yards after the catch. He's an incredible slotback, and he's 5'6", 5'7". He's not a real big guy, but he plays his heart out. He's got great athletic ability and incredible discipline. Now, you could take that mixture, that marble, that probability, that one option out of the bag of possibilities and say, I've got great athletic ability and I've got great discipline, and apply it to baseball or basketball or rugby or football or hockey or race car driving or horse racing. See, athletic ability and discipline as natural gifts can be applied to a lot of things. Academic achievement, ability to understand people, a high IQ, a high EQ, those things blended together, and a Rhodes Scholar is in the making. A world-class scientist like Dr. Caroline Leaf or Dr. Daniel Amen, or the guy who invented the 3D heart valve. Yeah, printed on a 3D printer and able to stick it in a heart. Who'd have thunk of that? All of these are possibilities. See, the challenge that most of us face is that we look at these high-level accomplishments and we think to ourselves, I could never. I wasn't born on the right side of town. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I wasn't born with a dad who played in the NFL, so my opportunity is not there. I wasn't born with a mother who was a Rhodes Scholar. I wasn't born into a family of PhDs, so my opportunities just don't exist. I was born in the wrong country in the wrong generation. I was born with the wrong colored skin. I was born at the wrong time. I was born in a family where I wasn't wanted. All of those might look to you to erase marbles from your bag of possibilities until you have so few left. And there are people, I know them, who look at life and say, Well, I've only got so many possibilities. There's only so many choices for my life. And I'm not going to disagree that as human beings, it's hard to perceive sometimes what our choices are. But I want to add this. If we look at this Venn diagram, and the Venn diagram has 100 as its total area, then we might look at it and go, well, what are the odds? There's 50 in there that are blue or green, and 50 that are the darker shade of blue. That's what we started with. So half of the area is one color and half of the area is the other color. And if it turns out that what we want out of life isn't one of those 50, then we're just out of luck, right? We can't do anything else. That's all the possibilities, the generation, my skin color, my ethnic background, my national origin, my faith, my religion, my sexual orientation. That's all the possibilities I had, right? My education level. I didn't have access to a free public school. I didn't have access to school at all. Look at the number of college dropouts who are multimillionaires or even billionaires now, like Gates and Jobs, right? College dropouts. Why? Because they didn't look at the bag they were handed and say, that's all the opportunity I have. That's all the possibility. This bag of possibilities is not limited by what you were handed at the start of your life. And I think that's where most people fail. They truly believe that the possibilities that were handed to me, where I started in life, is all the choices that I have. It's all the options that I have. It's the only bag that I get to reach into to figure out what my life is going to be. I might get lucky and pull out the athletic discipline marble, and therefore I have a chance to apply my physical stature and prowess to the discipline and the athletics, and I can pick any pro sport that I want to. Yay, me! Or I come from a long line of great genes, and everybody in my family has high intellect, and they're great communicators, and they're great thinkers, and yay, me! Or everybody in my family has been a pastor or a priest or an evangelist or an imam. Everybody in my family has a great religious heritage, and so I can just follow in their footsteps. Yay, me! And we feel like if I didn't draw that marble, that I drew the short stick, I reached in the bag of marbles and pulled out a moldy piece of pizza. The image in my life doesn't look anything like all the possibilities and probabilities that I wanted. And so as I began to pull marbles from that bag, my odds change from 1 in 3. I mean, maybe every time I reach into that bag, I pull out, my family has a history of diabetes. My family has a history of cancer. My family has a history of not finishing school. My family has a history of domestic assault. My family has a history of sexual abuse. And every marble we pull out of that bag changes our odds of success. And we feel like all I got is what's in that bag. And what I'm getting out of that bag ain't so good. What I'm getting out of that bag doesn't look like positive options for me. I can't collapse these probabilities. I can't, as an example, pull out the 15 marbles and go, 3 of those 15 marbles have to do with physical skill, physical agility, athletic ability, a mind for athletics, and discipline. And one of those has to do with my physical size. So I'm going to abandon all the others. This is what we mean by collapsing probabilities. I'm going to abandon all of the others and narrow my odds. See, with a 50-50 chance, you got a 1 in 50, or excuse me, a 1 in 2 chance of success. But the more you can collapse those probabilities, the more you remove these and narrow that number. Instead of having 50, you collapse those 50 probabilities into 10. How? By choice. See, if I have 50 and I pull out all 50 marbles of the same color, or let's say I pull out 10 of that color and I pull out 5 of the black, and I pull out 5 of the blue on my first grab. I just reached in the bag and I grabbed them, and I pull out 5 of the blue. Now I have a total of 20 probabilities out of 100 possibilities. And if I look at these and I go, well, this probability in this category right here says that I have the physical stature, the athletic ability and the discipline to be a great athlete. I'm going to hang on to those 3. I'm going to get rid of the other 7. So now I have 3 probabilities. See your odds going up? Your chances are getting better and better because you chose to let go of, out of that category. Maybe you had drug abuse in your family. Maybe you had physical abuse in your family. Maybe you had sexual abuse in your family. And so you say, I'm gonna simply walk away from those. I'm going to choose not to allow those things to impact or affect my life. And I'm changing the odds in my life. I'm collapsing possibilities into probabilities, and the odds are getting higher because my attention and my focus is going here. Well, what if you're that person who says, every time I reach in that bag, I pull out another one of those marbles that I don't want. My odds are 0 so far that I have any modicum of success. Here's a reality that Dr. Caroline Leaf talks about all the time. And I think it's a reality of hope. It's an encouragement that when we understand that our mind can change our brain, that by studying, by reading, by opening up our mind, by opening up our heart, by imagining new things, by pursuing new things, we can actually create new. I should have got this marker out of the bottom of this bag before we started. While I'm digging, don't forget to subscribe and share. We can create new possibilities that didn't exist before. And they may look like new relationships. And so now all of a sudden we've got this mix of 20 and we've decided we didn't want any of those, and we've narrowed out these 7 that were negative, and we've got these 5 that we're still kind of hanging on to. You know, I have some friends who played in the NFL, about a half dozen of them. And my friends who played in the NFL all say that NFL stands for something different than the National Football League. And most of them say it stands for not for long. Now you've got some guys who are both long in the tooth and incredible athletes like a Jason Witten, a Tom Brady, who've been around for a long, long time. They've played for many, many years. They're like dinosaurs when you consider football. There were a couple of guys that played quarterback for the Cowboys who were in their middle to late 40s. They'd played for almost 20 years in the NFL. That's unheard of. It's unlikely. It doesn't happen very often. But for most people who play in the NFL, they hold the idea of what's next. Tony Romo recently retired and became a color commentator for the actual sport, and I think he's going to be really good at it. He's also really good at golf. Why? Because he has the natural athletic ability and the natural disciplined approach to his athletic ability. He has a great mind. He's a great college graduate. Has a great opportunity in life to be a broadcaster. He's got a pretty face and a good voice, and he understands the game of football. You can't ask for much more than that to be on television. But after football, there had to be something. That may be what these 5 right here are. These are my retirement plan. This is what I'm going to do when I don't have to work for a job every single day. But we still look at these red ones and go, where'd they come from? What do they look like? And here's where I'm really going to mess with your head. And I truly believe this, and I love the way Caroline Leaf says it. You can expand your IQ. Did you know that? There used to be a philosophy, a brain science that was actually taught in schools in college level for those who were going to be physicians and therapists, that once you were past the age of 10 to 12 years old, your brain was pretty much done forming. You could do some therapy and some augmentation, but for the most part, you were learning to cope with who you were and what you were. In fact, there were a lot of theories, and Dr. Leaf talks about it in her TED Talk, about a young girl who was 16 years old and had a car accident, was thrown from the car, had literal physical holes in her brain. Before the accident, she had an IQ of 100. After the accident, she was in a coma for 2 weeks, and most of the people at the time, in the late 80s and early 90s, most of the physicians and brain scientists and neurosurgeons would have said, she's done. In fact, they told her parents, she'll be a vegetable. But she refused to accept that. This young girl didn't know that her bag of marbles had all been dumped out, that all of her possibilities were gone, that the probability that she would finish high school was 0. She didn't know that the probability that she would ever walk again was 0. She didn't believe that her bag was empty. And so she, by choice, began adding marbles back into the bag. She studied everything that she could. She got involved in every relationship and conversation that she could. She expanded her knowledge. She expanded her understanding. She expanded her academic prowess. And she was able to refill this bag of possibilities. Now, there's a big word that I talk about all the time. You hear me say it over and over and over. I truly believe it is the word that can change the world. It can change global economies. It can change global relationships, intercontinental relationships, interreligion relationships, interpolitical party relationships. And it's called attitude, and it is your thought plus your feelings about that thought. See, if somebody had told this 16-year-old girl with the holes in her brain that she was never going to be normal again, she would never think the same, she would never walk the same, she would never talk the same, she'd never be able to bathe herself, she'd never be able to feed herself, she'd never drive a car, she'd never go to college, she was done. That car accident ended everything. The entire bag of marbles had been dumped out. If someone had told her that and she believed it, then those thoughts plus the feelings would have changed her attitude about life. She refused to adopt those feelings. She would not let the emotion overwhelm her that her life was over. She didn't feel like life was over, so she thought differently. And that thinking differently created new possibilities that had never existed before in her life. New academic possibilities. Her IQ increased by 20 points after the accident from what it was before. She was not only able to catch up the 14 months of life that she lost, going from a junior in high school while her junior students were going on to finish their junior year and starting their senior year. She lost all that time. She not only made it up, but she graduated with her peers. That's pretty incredible because she didn't limit her possibilities to what was already in the bag. She added more to it. And so my encouragement to you is this, to understand that probability is the beginning of collapsing those options. It's when you begin to narrow things. You begin to do away with those things that are possible for you, but not necessary for you. They're possible for you, but the likelihood that you'll succeed amongst all the others doing the same thing may be slim. But as you narrow them, let me just throw this out there as a comparison tool. How many Rhodes Scholars do you think play in professional sports? WNBA, WPGA, women's hockey, men's football, men's hockey, soccer, football from around the world? How many Rhodes Scholars do you think play in those areas? There may be a few who cross over, but I'm going to be willing to challenge you to ask that question and then ask this question. When the Rhodes Scholars saw, I have 5 of the marbles that say, I have the possibility of being a Rhodes Scholar. I have the academic prowess. I have the ability to understand. My mind works like that. I think that way. How many of them did you think then said, I'll be doing my physical activity to the limit that I need to keep my body healthy, but I'm going to focus my time. The things that I do with my day will be focused on academic prowess. I don't think Einstein spent 8 hours a day in the gym. I really don't. I really don't. I don't think the guys who are tops in rocket science or tops at MIT or tops in Silicon Valley, I don't think they spend 8 to 10 hours a day in the gym. NFL players do. Basketball players do. MMA artists do. Why? Because it's necessary to collapse all of the possibilities into a handful of strong probabilities and look at these probabilities and go, I got a real good shot. I got 3 out of the 10 necessary marbles to be the best in the world on the football field. the best in the world in the ring. The young ladies who have succeeded in fencing and gold medals in the high hurdles and gold medals in Olympic championships like the double bars. Those people have collapsed those possibilities into a handful of probabilities, and then they poured everything they had into those probabilities. What that means is when this possibility came up and said, hey, let's go have a cup of coffee, or this possibility that said, hey, let's go have a drink, or this one came up and said, hey, let's go to this party and stay till 3 a.m. Or this one came up and said, hey, let's play video games for 8 hours a day. They went, no, 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 no. I don't have time for that nonsense. I'm busy being a Rhodes Scholar. Let's drink 47 beers. I don't have time for that nonsense. My body's getting ready for a football game that's a big, big deal. You follow me? See, many of us have all these possibilities in our life, but what we haven't done, number one, is add to the possibilities that add to our success. We haven't studied the stuff necessary to expand our IQ. We haven't studied the stuff necessary to expand our EQ. We haven't studied the stuff necessary. We haven't sought out the information. We haven't challenged our mind to go to the next level. Because when we do, when we have the attitude that says, I'm not going out drinking, I'm not looking for 42 girlfriends or boyfriends, I'm not playing video games till odd hours in the morning, I'm not wasting brain cells on marijuana and illicit drugs or prescription drugs for that matter, I'm looking at the possibilities in my life and I'm adding every possibility that I can. This is academic pursuit. It's going on to college to get a degree, academic pursuit. You know what else this is? This is network meetings. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, but I can tell you that being outgoing, meeting people, Dale Carnegie has said it, Andrew Carnegie said it, Napoleon Hill said it, James Allen said it, you will be known by the books that you read and the people you hang out with. In the end, the books that you read and the people you hang out with will craft the majority of who you are. If you want to add more possibilities, more marbles to your chances of success, read more books, meet more people. It's not that complicated. You'll become like the 5 people you hang out with. If the 5 people you're hanging out with can't collapse the possibilities of playing video games till 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, sitting around with a Mountain Dew and a bottle next to them for too lazy to go to the bathroom, then your possibilities are going to be limited. If those are the 5 people you hang out with, the chances are you're going to be just like them. If the 5 people you hang out with love to go meet new people, the job that I have right now, the full-time job that I have right now, happened because I was speaking at a network meeting and I went to take my boys to get donuts after that meeting. And when we walked into the donut place, there was a funny little man sitting in the corner. And I was outgoing and gregarious enough to strike up a conversation with this absolute stranger. That quick introduction to an absolute stranger became a 2-hour conversation. And over 18 months and a handful of other conversations, we became friends. And then a year and a couple of months, I became a full-time employee of his team. So I work at a broadcasting network. I manage a small station. I handle all the outbound email and newsletters and social media and websites. I work in all of that stuff, the same stuff that I do for me, the same stuff that I've done for other coaching clients, only now I'm committed to one. Because I continue to study, I continue to learn new ways to do things that I didn't know before, and I have no problem meeting new people. If you can't meet new people, then the 5 people in your circle of influence are not going to change. If you can't pursue new things academically, and that doesn't mean, while it doesn't rule out, it doesn't mean you have to go pay $100,000 to get another college degree. Maybe that's what you need. Maybe the PhD is the next thing on your list. That's fine. Expand your knowledge. It expands your possibilities. It expands your opportunities in life. It may mean sitting down in front of your laptop and instead of watching furry cats and stupid puppy dogs and motorcycle crashes, spend your time watching things that are in your field of interest. Learn how that other football player never misses a pass. Learn how the guy who blocks on the left tackle always protects the blind side of the quarterback. Learn how Tiger Woods or his name just Spieth. His name just slipped out of my head. Jordan Spieth. Learn how they've managed to play at the highest level of golf. A game that in past has been a sacred game of old dudes. Generally speaking, most Masters holders were in their 30s and 40s, and now we've got a couple of guys who've done it in their 20s. That's kind of unusual. How'd that happen? Figure it out. Are you the next Jordan Spieth? Are you the next Tiger Woods? Are you the next Michael Jordan or Shaquille O'Neal? Are you the next Tony Romo, who's going to have a high-paid career in NFL and then move on to broadcasting? Shannon Sharp has done the same thing. You see what I'm saying? That the possibilities are only limited by your imagination. What you put in that bag of marbles is totally up to you. And then the probabilities are the ones that you pull out of that bag and then decide, I'm going to crush this one, or I'm going to keep this one. And then you find the ones that you're going to keep, and these three right here, the physical ability, the athletic ability, the discipline. You're going to pour everything you have into those three. And your probabilities are going to come from your possibilities. Now, I'm a believer that the Almighty God has given us a bag of infinite possibilities. Infinite possibilities. We can do anything. There is nothing impossible for us. There are things that are improbable because we never embark on them. And there are things that have zero probability because when we draw that marble, we do nothing with it. Now, we could draw the marble of drug abuse and go, oh, look at that. Everybody in my family has had drug abuse. Wow. What if I tried some drugs? What if I got high a couple of times? What if I got high a couple dozen times? What if I ended up in jail about that? And the more you focus on it, the more you're going to get. That's pretty common brain science. The more you focus on it, the more you get. And that probability will begin to take place of all the other possibilities in your life, and that probability will rise to the top the more you stare at it. And that probability will begin to take over your life, and then eventually you'll find yourself dealing with a drug problem, dealing with the legal problems that go along with it, dealing with the money problems that go along with it, dealing with the relational problems that go along with it, dealing with life, when your greatest probability is drugs. Because that's where you focus your attention. If you'll simply crush that probability out of your life, cast it away from you as far as you can, take that thought and beat it into submission and go, you know what? I don't need that in my life. I'm not even going to think about it. I don't need the physical abuse in my life. I don't need the sexual abuse in my life. You know what? I'm just going to chuck those marbles away. I'm not even putting them back in the bag. I'm going to throw them as far away as I possibly can because I want to focus on my physical ability, my athletic ability, and my discipline. Or my physical ability, my academic ability, and my discipline. I'm going to focus on those things. I'm going to add more possibilities. I'm going to add more people to my network. I'm going to get the chance to do the thing that I want to do by meeting the people who are already doing that thing. I'm going to hang out with them and figure out what they know that I don't, and I'm going to learn what they know that I don't. That's called getting a mentor. And when you have a mentor in your life, you expand your possibilities. And your mentor will help you to identify your probabilities. And your mentor will help you to identify the probabilities you need to cast away and the ones you need to put your time and energy into. Do you really need 1 more hour of video games, 1 more hour of television, 1 more hour of sitting on the beach? Will those things improve the quality of your life or diminish it? I don't know the answer to those questions, but they're pretty obvious. You'll have to answer them for yourself. Add more possibilities. Select your probabilities at a higher level because every possibility is not a probability. Now tomorrow we're going to talk about how a possibility and a probability are not a promise. That one's really going to get you because it's going to demand of you something more than the intellectual exercise of adding possibilities to your life. I really hope today has been an encouragement to you. I don't want you to feel like just because your bag of marbles didn't include every academic opportunity or every athletic opportunity or every vocational opportunity. Yes, some were born in the right place at the right time, in the right family, on the right day. God bless them. Some of us were not. Some of us were born into broken homes. I was 4 when my parents were divorced. I was 9 when my mother was widowed. She never married again. I was raised as the only son of a single mom. My bag of possibilities wasn't that big. I grew up in a small town. We had a golf team. I don't think we even had a tennis team. We certainly didn't have the chance to graduate from high school with a beautician's license or an ASE certification. It just wasn't wasn't an offering. But to take the possibilities that you were born with, that you were given to start, and expand them until they become what you feel like you're made for in life. That's your purview. Nobody can and nobody will do it for you. It's all you. It's also all you to collapse the probabilities until they become the ones that you want them to be. That is about choice. But if you don't have the right attitude, if you don't have the right thoughts in your head and feel properly about them, all of this will sit in the wayside until every marble gathers dust and the bag is full of holes and all the marbles get away. And if you think I'm kidding, go back and look at some of those guys that were 15, 16, 17 years old and they started off on drugs, and then they realized by 20 that the only way they were going to be able to pay for their drugs was to break into somebody's house, and then now they're 28, 29 years old and they've been in jail for 10 years. And their bag of possibilities is shrinking. Their bag of probability of success when they get out, it's shrinking. Their opportunities in life, they're shrinking. They're not growing. Now, they may be academically improving themselves. They may be learning new ways of dealing with life and coping. And I pray that when they come out of prison, they will have increased their possibilities and grown into something fantabulous. But if they don't, if they've only collapsed their opportunities, then they're probably more violent, more angry at the world, more frustrated, more addicted to drugs than they went in. Their opportunities are shrinking. If you're free, if your life is livable, you have the opportunity to collapse those choices now. Collapse those probabilities until all you have left are good choices, until all you have left are good probabilities. That's all on you. Nobody else can do it for you, and nobody can do it to you. Your choices. Your opportunity to succeed, your opportunity to fail. It's all you. I hope it's been challenging. I hope it's been encouraging. I hope it made good sense. Please feel free to send me comments. I love to get comments. I love to read. I had a young man from Africa who was, I came back from Africa torn. I see some of the poverty and the lifestyle, and I think, what about the possibilities that they could add to their life? And he said, you've only seen a few cities in Africa. We have 54 different independent nations. Some of them are some of the strongest economies in the world. And I have to acknowledge, my view of Africa is myopic. I've seen so little of all of Africa. It would be like basing the entire world on one city in the United States. That's a fair comment, and I appreciate that challenge and that encouragement. I've also had people ask about, you've taught this, how does that apply to my life? How can I make it more specific? And I do offer coaching. I also offer general answers that are good for the public. If you have a question, feel free to ask it. I will answer it the best that I can. If I don't know the answer, I have surrounded myself with brilliant people. I will intentionally ask one of them to give me an answer, or I will research it until I find it, and then I'll point you the direction that I found the answer. I'm glad to serve in that way. I would love for you to subscribe, and there's 3 different places you can subscribe: Facebook Live, YouTube, or iTunes Podcast. These videos are available in all those places, and for now, all those subscriptions are free. If you want to read up on some of the other stuff that I do, you can go to excellentLifeLeadership.com. That's my blog. And on that blog, you'll see articles from way back. You'll see teaching lessons and classes that I offer, communication training, and all kinds of stuff. It's all there on the website. I'd love for you to engage in whatever level is comfortable for you, and allow me to serve you in whatever way is a good fit. Until then, until tomorrow at 6:20 a.m., is tomorrow Friday? Today is Friday. Well, then I guess I won't see you tomorrow morning. I'll see you Monday morning, and we'll talk about promises and probabilities. Until then, have a great weekend, and thank you for watching Tell It Like It Is TV. I'm J Loren Norris. Have a blessed day.